Now, on the economic front, the country has achieved its first back-to-back primary budget surplus in 16 years. This means that South Africa has more disposable income. The development also shows a commitment to financial discipline in a time of unpredictable global events. To talk to us about this, we are now joined by Redge Nkosi, who's the Chief Economist and Executive Director of Firstsource Money. Mr. Nkosi, thank you so much for joining us this evening. Some good news for our economy this time around. Tell us exactly what more disposable income means. Does it mean it can be used for anything that is of pressing nature and immediately?
Well, thanks for having me. Firstly, when you have a surplus, I think it means a lot to many people. It means extra cash in the pocket, and they can do whatever it is that they want with that extra cash. That is exactly that. But when it comes to government budgeting or government finances, that is a dangerous move. Now, we should not, in my view, be celebrating the budget, the primary budget surplus. We should, in fact, be shaking in the sense that what is going to be coming before us in the next coming few years will be an economy that cannot grow, an economy that cannot invest, an economy that's going to be having high taxes, and therefore most people won't have sufficient disposable income, and all manner of challenges that are accompanied by any act that seeks to consolidate or fiscal consolidate an economy. So it is indeed quite clear, it seems to me, that government doesn't understand what it's doing, because if it understood, it wouldn't be pursuing this route. It is a very, very dangerous route. We have it on good authority over years of empirical evidence that almost all those economies that strive to achieve a primary budget surplus end up not growing their economies and end up having unemployment rates that are quite high. So I'm afraid it's unlike the way a personal budget or the way a corner cafe budget works. Economies don't work like that at a macro level, I'm afraid.
Unfortunately so. So does this mean then that government isn't efficiently utilizing its budget as it is supposed to be?
Well, government is actually our government for quite a while, almost the past 15 years or so, it has been misguided in its way it conducts its macroeconomy. It receives instructions from the World Bank and sometimes the International Monetary Fund, but these institutions are not institutions that help economies grow. These are institutions that are political institutions, actually, even if they seem economic or financial. They're political institutions that actually serve not the purpose of any country outside of the countries in the global north. So the way we have been conducting our monetary policy and fiscal policy, I'm afraid they're not very good. So we should be spending money in the economy. Okay, we shouldn't be cutting expenditure. So what we're doing the opposite. It's like draining blood from a sick patient, a patient in hospital, expecting that patient to sort of become healthy. We don't do that. The moment you cut expenditure, what you're doing is you're reducing money that should actually go for infrastructure. Hence, you have broken roads, hospitals that are functioning. You cannot have people who are unwell and expect them to perform in an economy. You cannot have roads that are broken all over and think you can drive through and achieve economic growth. That's not the way forward. And I think government has to change that with immediate effect. It has to listen to those economists who do not support these ideas, and there have been quite many in the recent past saying we're on the wrong path, the way we manage our budget is quite bad, and indeed it is very, very bad. So I'm afraid it's not good news indeed for South Africa now and going into the future.
The surplus is likely to be viewed as positive news by the government, and particularly the government of national unity as well. But you, Mr. Nkosi, are saying they're heading down the wrong path. So what happens if they don't listen to some of these pieces of advice getting from the likes of yourselves and others who are saying we shouldn't be going down this path? What happens if we continue down this path?
when you drive from your studio going back home, you may have to encounter lots of challenges, which you wouldn't want to have. Or if I drive from here to somewhere, I have to encounter challenges. I mean, those come because we're following a path that is not sustainable. In other words, we are not investing in the economy. Now, if we don't invest in the economy, what happens? Unemployment continues to grow, as it has been growing. There hasn't been any respite at all in unemployment. Employment numbers are going up. Economy is not growing. We had just about 1% growth. Is that what we want? South Africa needs to grow in the regions of 7% or more. Now, when they continue to do this, I'm afraid South Africa is unlikely, I repeat, unlikely to perform well. And therefore, job losses will continue. The suffering that we see, poverty, unemployment, the cost of living itself is going to shoot up as a consequence of this type of macroeconomic policy, which I'm afraid is not suited for us, but good enough. Let me remember why, in fact, the rand firmed as a consequence of that. That is what the markets want. The markets are private sector people who want a quick buck, and they want to actually punish you as a citizen because they want to drain money from you, not you enjoying the better standard of living. So these are markets, they're not the economy. I think people must understand the difference. So what we're doing here is to please a select few instead of the entire economy. And those are the people who control the markets, who are controlling the rand. And they're very happy when they say this because they know now they're going to generate a lot of money out of us as we get poorer and poorer, and they get richer and richer. That exactly is the case. Hence, you see the rand firming up. It's not that this rand is not, frankly, firming because it is in support of the rest of us, not at all. It's firming because the markets, which is controlled actually by about 13 or 14 or so companies in this economy. Most of them are owned by Europeans. Almost all of them are owned by Europeans. No African, no black people owning that. And that's what it means for you and me as ordinary citizens.
Sure. So that 48.9 billion rand surplus should rather have been used on our ailing healthcare system, invested into our education, roads, infrastructure, the things that you're mentioning. Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely. So that if I go to a clinic, I'm able to receive medicine and then I return to work and be a productive citizen, isn't it? I should be able to drive here to Pretoria. Oh, sorry, I'm not in Pretoria. From Pretoria to Johannesburg, without any challenges on the road. That makes me a productive citizen. Now, you do not have money, or we do not have money to construct, infrastructure that is going to support investment. So that so-called 48 should have been actually spent in productive activities of the economy. Schools, we have accidents of our children falling in bridges and rivers and so on. And then we have what we call primary surplus. What's that? Do you want to save some money, yet you cannot save the lives of your own children in the economy?
Where is the balance between, you're speaking about the rand firming also on the back of the surplus as well, but I mean, and explaining the difference between the markets and the economy, but where's the balance between a firm and strong rand and also making sure that you don't have this kind of a surplus, that it actually is spent on infrastructure and things that matter to the citizens of that country?
Well, the rand should actually firm, which is very good. So you have petrol prices going down, but it should firm on account of an economy growing. Okay? It is forming on an account of an economy that's not growing. That is mischievous, isn't it? We want an economy, a rand that is firming, being advantageous to the rest of the economy on account of an economy that is healthy, on account of a citizen who goes to a clinic and is able to get medicine, and then he can return to work and be productive. The rand is firming on account of us getting poorer and poorer. That cannot be the firming that we want. And I can assure you it will reverse just now because obviously no fundamental would have changed. So South Africa is in a bind deliberately, and I think those who are so happy about